My name is Shira. If I haven't met you yet, I would love to. I'm the executive director of Summit Impact. We are the nonprofit social good arm of Summit. We started up in August of 2020, and we have all sorts of programs. We have 80 Summit Fellows here at this event who work on incredible social impact initiatives, everything from coral reef restoration to anti-trafficking to education initiatives to so much more. We also have focused democracy labs with fellows who work on all sorts of angles of democracy and criminal justice. And we have a cool climate initiative, including a climate map that you'll see in our Impact Lounge that will be set up sometime later this afternoon. So we have a lot going on. And we're also excited to do this session in partnership with Summit Junto, another newer part of Summit, an organization dedicated to helping people create your own personal advisory boards to live your biggest life. So today we have this really special opportunity together at the intersection of Summit Impact and Summit Junto to dive into these topics of love and forgiveness and to understand how we might interact with them both on a personal level and on a societal one. And our hope for this session is that you have a chance to really connect from an experience in your own life, to hear incredible and inspiring stories, and to maybe reimagine how the world could be a little bit different if we come from this place of love. So to get us into that mode, to help us start to imagine that, we have two incredible speakers here. We have Artie and Christine. I'm going to start by introducing Artie, who is going to speak first. Then we'll pass it to Christine to give you a little lay of the land. It'll be Artie, then Christine will speak. Then we'll do a little thought exercise. Then we'll open it up to the group to share. And then we might do a little bit of reflection in small groups around the room, and then we'll close it out. So that's what we're in for over the next 45 to 50 minutes. So to introduce Artie. Artie is one of the people I am just so delighted to have met over the past few years because of the incredible light that he brings to the world. He's known as the creative that almost never was. He was incarcerated, sentenced to life in prison at age 16, sentenced as an adult. He spent 8 years in solitary confinement. He knows better than anyone what it means to undergo a tremendous amount of transformation and also to do so in the most traumatizing and horrific of circumstances. And today he works on an incredible array of creative projects that bring stories like his and of many other people to the light, to the world that really need more space, more voice. So I'm going to let Artie share a little bit more about his story and kick us off here. But let's first give him a really big welcome and round of applause.
See if this reaches. Thank you. Hey, everybody. Let's get into this. The first time I ever truly experienced what we would call remorse. I'm sitting in a self-help group in prison with men who had all been convicted and sentenced to life. I myself had already spent over 15 years at that point. I had only recently walked away from years of gang membership. I had only recently been freed from 8 years straight in solitary confinement. Now, I didn't know who I was back then, not really, but I knew who I no longer wanted to be. And in that spirit, I sat in this circle of men, and I hoped that my rebirth would be found on the inward path. We sat in this circle in silence, eyes closed. I was participating in an exercise pretty common to lifers in the California system. I was reliving the events of my life crime, moment to moment, from beginning to end. I had done it 1,000 times. Only this time, I was doing it from the perspective of the person I had harmed. I was opening myself up to feeling their pain and experiencing their fear, thinking their thoughts. I saw myself through the eyes of this other person. And what I saw, it saddened and it scared me. I knew that I was experiencing my final moments. And for the briefest of time, I was my victim. I came out of the exercise crying, devastated. Somehow I had connected to the humanity of this other person. And I knew that I would never harm anyone like that ever again. But I was also overwhelmed with a crushing sense of guilt and shame. What had I done? I knew what I had done, and I couldn't forgive myself for it. In fact, I refused to, because the more I thought about it, the more I came to believe that denying myself forgiveness, that was the true punishment that I deserved for my crime. It wasn't the concrete box I was living in. It wasn't the ultra-violent, racist environment I was fighting to survive in every day. No. This shame and this guilt would fester in me and torture me until I was gone. That was justice. That was how I would repay the debt that I owed to the person I had harmed. How do we break free from the mental shackles that we all have around forgiveness? The human condition seems uniquely qualified to me to spot shortcomings, to identify and judge failure. We seem naturally inclined to do so. I bet every single person in this room could give a freaking masterclass on our ability to see the negative, the bad in others and in ourselves. Monster, animal, thug. Worst person you're ever going to meet in your entire life lives right here. I mean, it's so easy, right? For us. Well, the breakthrough came when I decided to get into the uncomfortable and expand my lens. I realized that every single person I had ever harmed and anyone who had ever harmed me, well, they had goodness in them as well. I mean, even at my worst, my absolute worst, I was never 100% evil 100% of the time. And the same goes for all of us. I realized that this person I had harmed, they would not have wanted me to suffer. They would not have wanted me to punish myself in this way. Of course, they would have had this side that hated me. Of course, they would have had this side that wanted to deny me their forgiveness forever. But I realized I was only honoring one side of who they truly were. I realized that they wanted me to forgive myself, and I had been blind to it for so many years because I had been conditioned, as we all have, to view forgiveness as weakness, vulnerability, a waste of time, something rarely, if ever, given, because to live in our resentment, that feels like home to us. I realized that they had already forgiven me and given me that permission, so I chose to forgive myself that day. I chose to forgive myself and live my life in a way that honors their goodness, their love, the side of them that their family would always remember them for. And I'm here today, with the brief time I have, to let you know that it's okay to start practicing forgiveness in your own lives. No matter what you've done, it doesn't mean that what happened is okay, or that it is suddenly erased out of time. Forgiveness, it is an accepting of the unchanging past. It is a powerful choice that not only frees us from the bondage of judgment, but it allows us to accept ourselves in our wholeness. Deep down, I truly believe that forgiveness is a path to humility, because it requires us to surrender ego. That place in ourselves, that self-righteous place, behind phrases like, I deserve, they deserve, you should. You and I, we are not a single moment. We aren't that one thing we did or they did. We simply are. And that is all we are. And I hope that you will choose today to do what I did so long ago and step into the power of the fullness of your own forgiveness. And that's my time. Thank you.